DUIs are a complex case as it is, but it gets even more complex when there's a CDL involved, a commercial driver's license. It's because those drivers are held to a higher standard, so there's just more involved here. Now, we've talked in other videos about how a CDL holder can get their license disqualified, but let's talk specifically as that relates to DUIs. All right, so Kelly, there's really two different ways that a CDL holder can lose their CDL once they're charged with a DUI. Tell me about the first one that they should worry about.
Sure. So the first one is that their license, like their regular driver's license, is going to get suspended 46 days after the date of the DUI arrest. That's true for everyone, right? Whether you're a regular driver or a CDL driver. But once that statutory summary suspension is on your abstract or your MVR, if you're a CDL driver, then your CDL is going to get disqualified. Whether you blow or refuse to blow and you're a first-time DUI, then your CDL is going to be disqualified for 12 months as long as that suspension stays
Right.
on your MVR.
Yes, we'll talk about fighting it and lawyers trying to remove that suspension in a minute. But just how the process works is they typically are supposed to get suspended 46 days after the arrest. So let's walk through a scenario. A driver, a CDL holder is driving their personal vehicle, right? This can occur in a commercial vehicle, but most of the time we assume they're in a personal vehicle, and they get a DUI. They do the breathalyzer and they're over the legal limit. How long is their regular license suspended for, and how long is their CDL suspended for?
Their regular license is suspended for 6 months.
Because they agreed to do the breathalyzer.
Correct.
Okay.
So that's like implied consent law. You know, when you sign the back of your driver's license, you're saying like you agree to all the rules and regulations, one of which is that if an officer has reasonable grounds, probable cause to arrest you for a DUI, that you're going to agree to give that officer proof of your blood alcohol content, right?
Yep.
So there's some benefit for normal, like regular drivers. When you're a CDL and you refuse to blow, right, your regular license is going to be suspended for 12 months and your CDL is going to be disqualified for 12 months.
Right.
So I would encourage anybody that has a CDL, if you're in a situation where you have been consuming alcohol and you're pulled over, do not blow.
Right.
The only thing that you're doing is giving the police evidence to use against you, and you get no benefit from that as far as your CDL goes.
As far as your CDL is concerned, right? I mean, that's truly the perfect example of a CDL holder being held to a higher standard, right? Like regular license, 6 months suspension when you blow and you're over the limit. But CDL, gone for 12 months, right? So it's like, you don't really get the benefit there because they're held to a higher standard.
I think some people don't understand too, like in your first scenario, if they blow and they blow above a 0.08, after 6 months, they can pay the reinstatement fee and drive their personal vehicle, but they still can't operate a commercial vehicle for another 6 months. And typically somebody that has a CDL, their entire livelihood depends on being able to drive that commercial vehicle. So, other than maybe trying to find another job or help your family with running errands or something like that, you driving your personal vehicle isn't of much benefit to you.
Right. And I think that you said earlier that doing the breathalyzer and being over the legal limit makes it really hard to win your criminal charge, or less likely to outright win your criminal charge, right? And that's the next way that somebody can lose their CDL. So even if the attorney wipes away that statutory summary suspension, or maybe it's never filed for some reason, then they still have this secondary thing to deal with, which is what's the outcome to the DUI?
Right. So even if you're a first-time DUI and you get court supervision on that DUI, if you plead guilty or you're found guilty, even though court supervision is not a conviction in the state of Illinois, that is also going to disqualify your CDL for 12 months. The only saving grace in any of this is if you do have any time period that you were disqualified because of the statutory summary suspension, you get a credit for that after you plead guilty or you're found guilty.
So let me walk through a scenario. So you are, again, we'll just stick with, you did the breathalyzer, you're in your personal vehicle, you're over the legal limit, and you get that statutory summary suspension of your regular license for 6 months. You get the CDL disqualification for 12 months, but now you blew, and you may not win your case. And so you get court supervision then on that DUI. That triggers a 12-month suspension as well. So now, are you looking at 24 months of being suspended?
No, thankfully.
Right.
Yeah, you do get a credit for that. So just hypothetically, say the suspension stayed throughout the case. By the time you plead guilty to the DUI, you've been suspended for 4 months, right? Which means you've also been disqualified for 4 months. You only have another 8 months of a disqualification, not,
Right.
12 plus the 4 you've already sat out.
Right, exactly. So
So,
it's capped at 12 for a first-time DUI like that. All right, so let's talk a little bit about supervision on the DUI charge. Is that like a terrible thing or what?
no, I mean, if you're a regular driver, and your case is not defensible, right? Officer had probable cause to stop you, made admissions, did the fields, you blew. Court supervision is typically like a really good thing. We tell our clients it's not a conviction. It doesn't have any further impact on your ability to drive if you're a regular driver. But because we've been saying CDLs are held to a higher standard, supervision is not as great as if you were just a regular driver. For one thing, CDLs are controlled federally, not state-wise. So court supervision is a disposition that's unique to the state of Illinois. That's not something that's recognized if you're a CDL. So if you get something on your abstract, including a DUI, they look at it as a conviction.
Mhm. Yep.
So when that goes on to their abstract, then they're also facing a disqualification of their CDL. So a lot of times when we see that, right, where the case is not defensible, we're going to be negotiating with the prosecutor and ask them to reduce or amend or change the charge from a DUI to a reckless driving, because that conviction does not disqualify somebody's CDL.
Right. Still not great on your driving record.
No, and it can affect your employability because employers look at every CDL driver's MVR and how that affects their insurance rates. So I think a lot of times employers are looking at their employees' MVRs on an annual basis when their insurance rates come up.
Yep.
And then we've seen CDL drivers lose their jobs over less, like
Yeah.
a petty speeding
yeah.
ticket,
Yep.
So it's tough. I mean, like we said, they're held to a higher standard. They make it really, really tough on CDL drivers.
They do. And if you're a CDL driver who's recently been charged with DUI and you're watching this, you're probably like, oh my God, doom and gloom, right? And truthfully, it is tougher for a CDL holder. That's the whole point. But is all hope lost? I mean, what are the things that a good defense attorney can do, Kelly?
Right. So I would say if you are a CDL driver watching this, all hope is not lost. I hope that you're watching this very soon after you get a DUI. That would be my one big piece of advice. Hire a trusted DUI attorney that knows the impact of a DUI on your CDL ASAP. That's going to give you the best possible option of getting that suspension removed. And then also for us, like being in the case from day one, getting the evidence and determining, what is the best strategy for you overall.
So wait a minute. Is it possible we talked about that suspension that happens on the 46th day. Is it possible to eliminate or remove that suspension?
Yes, very possible. Depending on the facts of the case, the county where your case is pending, there's many different factors, but the best thing that you can do is hire somebody right away. And again, not just anybody. You have to hire somebody that knows DUIs and knows the impact it's going to have on a CDL holder. Please do not hire your family attorney that your mom recommended that did her bankruptcy or her will.
Yes.
You have to hire somebody that knows DUI. So that's why, we recommend that if you are in a situation where you've been consuming alcohol and you're, been driving, stopped by the police, that you do not give them evidence to use against you. Don't do the field sobriety test. Don't make admissions. Don't blow. You could be respectful and polite to the police and just, respectfully, I'm not going to be doing any of that. You're going to get arrested and charged with a DUI most likely, but we have the ability to fight everything in court for you then, the suspension as well as the DUI.
Yep.
If, you're watching this prospectively and you've already done those things, that doesn't mean all hope is lost. You can't go back and change the past, right? That's why you want to hire somebody that really knows DUI law and the impact it has on your CDL. Because we are going to do everything in our power. We're going to file that document regarding your suspension right away. We're going to get all of the evidence and look for any possible angle, whether it's probable cause to stop you, probable cause to arrest you for a DUI. If you did do the breathalyzer, there's certain things that have to be done regarding that breathalyzer. It has to be certified. Even the way that they ask you to blow, or that little plastic piece that they put on it, all those things matter. And our team looks at every possible angle to see if you have a defense. If you don't have a defense, we can still try and negotiate with the prosecutor. So that's the reason too why you want to hire somebody that's familiar with the courthouse, the state's attorneys, the judges, where your case is pending, because we'll be able to tell you better what we believe your chances are of, getting that suspension eliminated and or getting the DUI reduced to a reckless if those issues are not defensible.
Yep. So the outcome to the DUI charge, just like any outcome to any criminal charge, there's a spectrum. There's really good outcomes. There's some not so good outcomes, right? So let's talk about the ones that are not going to affect a CDL. If a case gets dismissed, does that in and of itself affect their CDL?
And we're just talking about the criminal charge.
Just
not
the criminal
suspension.
charge.
Yeah.
Yep.
No.
No.
And it's not on your MVR. You're not under any sentence. Doesn't affect your CDL at all.
So obviously, pretty good thing to get your DUI dismissed. How about not guilty?
Same
thing, right?
Yeah.
You're not going on your record. That in and of itself does not trigger any suspension or disqualification. How about a reckless driving, an amendment from DUI to reckless driving?
So that does not disqualify your CDL, but that's going to be a major moving conviction for you as a CDL driver. That will be on your MVR forever, and you could never remove that. So that is something that you need to know that's probably going to affect your employability in the future. So it kind of depends. I mean, a lot of CDL drivers move around from job to job to job. Others have been on the same job forever and they know their boss and their
have a
boss is cool
union
with
many
it, right?
times. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where it becomes important in sort of knowing your client's personal situation and how these different outcomes may affect their employment. All right, so what are the takeaways here? There's no question that a CDL driver is held to a higher standard and they have a uphill battle if they are charged with the DUI. But like we talked about, all hope is not lost. We've got filing cabinets full of CDL holders who got DUIs, and we've gotten many great outcomes for them. Other ones, tough case, and you're just sort of doing damage control and trying to minimize the impact and get them back out on the road as soon as you can. So there's a lot to consider when you are a CDL holder and you're charged with DUI, but the most important factor at this moment in time is who are you going to hire? So if you want to learn more about how a DUI can impact your CDL, we've made a ton of videos and articles on this. Read more in the description. And of course, we're happy to talk to you about your situation.